Hello friends, how are you? This is Ganesh and video number 5 on on ALV list playlist, and today we are going to see about object oriented ALV with events flow. As we started designing ALV with the help of object-oriented concept, so mostly we are handling with classes and methods. Okay, so what is a method is required to display the ALV? What is a method to handle the particular user command? So mostly we are going to handle with classes and methods. And events is also plays a major role for object oriented ALV. So there is one of the concept in object oriented ABAP as events. So I have already have a playlist or excuse me video about oops events. So if you're good with the events, then this session is very simple to understand. And if you're not having any idea about object oriented events, please go through the previous videos and make yourself little comfortable with what is events, how it's triggered, what is event handler method, what is the event registration means, set handler, technical term set handler. So just make yourself little comfortable, then it will be very easy for you. Okay, so that what today's session we are going to see about events flow on this particular video. And here I'm not going to write the same functionality again and again. It's up to you, up to your business requirement. So I'm not going to write that particular functionality. For example, if a double click happens, I will show you after double click where the control goes to and where is the place where we can write the method. So write your own functionality. Okay, so that's what I mean. Let's see one by one, and we'll get into the slide first. And before getting into the particular slide, I got a kind of information from one of the subscriber to my channel saying that please avoid having the code, most of the object oriented ALV code. Sorry, I missed. Yeah, it was about the message from one of the subscribers. So he prefer don't write most of the ALV functionalities inside the screen modules like PAI, PBO. The reason behind is whatever you declare, obviously it will act as a global variable. If you declare anything in the PI, it can be accessed anywhere. So if there is any major complex ALV programs, and if you use most of the steps in PAI modules, most of the objects or variables or data mediums are globally accessed from anywhere from the program. So that lead many mistakes or many complex things to be resolved. So that is the reason he prefer don't write most of the functionalities in PI PBO. Very less, yes, we can do it. For that is the reason we prefer to define a local class and methods in the program and write different methods for different ALV functionalities, so that will resolve this global and local variable issue. Okay, so that is a very good point, and I noted it and I want to communicate to everyone as well. Okay, and let's get into the events about ALV. So here, if you want to write events, events is very simple about an ALV or object oriented. Something to be happened, we call it as events. It could be a double click, hotspot, button click, enter, whatever it is. It's an event. Every single thing is an event. So if event happens, what is the next step? If a double click happens, what is the next step? If I click the button, what is the next step? Okay, so that kind of functionality of the next step to be handled or written in handle even handler method. So we need some excuse me, we need some place to write the code for the next step, right? So that is coming under even handler method. It's normal method only, but technically we call it as even handler method because it has some different properties. So even handler needs 3 different steps here. First thing, your even handler method to be defined first. There is a method, it needs to be defined, maybe in a local class, and under the public section, you have to define a method. And every event method can have or might have a mandatory parameters. So, okay, parameter or parameters depends on the event. So, excuse me. So if the event has any particular parameter, we have to define in the event handler definition level. And then we have to implement the event handler method. Implementation is nothing but the code. You have to write the code under the event handler method. What needs to be done if double click happens, if the hotspot clicked, if the F4 button clicked, and then if any button click from the custom button can be added in the menu, OO ALV menu options, menu buttons, then what needs to be done if the button is clicked. So those kind of functionalities to be right in the event handler method implementation part. And final one, these are normal method definition implementation. One additional thing to be needed for an event handler method is every event handler method to be registered first. Okay, so technically we call it a set handler statement. Every event handler method needs to be have a set handler statement is going to be registered, saying that there is a event handler method and I'm having an object oriented concept in my program, and I have n number of objects related to that, and I can say this event handler is relevant for only few objects, not all the objects, or it can be applicable for all the objects. So again, I'm saying if you're good with the events, then the flow is very easy to understand. If not, please go through the events concept, then come back to this video. Okay, so these three things to be happen for every event handler method. Okay, I have 4 events: F4, double click, hotspot, and then what else? I want to add an extra button to my user command. So I have 4 events, so I need to do all these 3 for all the 4 events. Okay, and then the next one is, so where to see all the events? So go to the class CLG or ALV grid and go to the tab called events. Under the events, you can have all the events, and every event might have its own parameters. Click the parameters button. You can able to see what are the parameters coming under this particular event. So here you have user command, before user, after user command, double click, very familiar one, and then print top of page. So many things are available, a lot of events available. I just picked this particular screenshot just for your reference. Okay, this is the place where you can see what are the events actually available for ALV, object oriented ALV. And then the syntax now. Event handler method to be defined. How we have to define it? Very simple. Methods. It's coming in a public section. Keyword. Method name can be anything. For event and event name. Take an example for double click. So the whole list I'm going to use double click as an event. So for event double click of event class name. So you mentioned event, where the event is it belongs to which class. So the previous one is CL GUI ALB grid. So you have to mention the class name of the event. Importing parameters if any. Okay, so this is actually optional, but if there is any mandatory parameter to be passed for the event handler method, yes, you have to pass it. So this is the definition of event handler method. Implementation, same like the normal method. Method name, functionalities, just write whatever you want, and end method. Final one is to be registered. So you have to write this set handler code with the help of the object event handler method. Event handler method is a method, simple method. So how to call a method? You need an object. So set handler object, it needs to be declared actually before this statement, basic declaration to be happen. An object, single arrow, event handler method for an object or an objects or for all the objects. Okay, so which object the event method to be called? As I mentioned, you have 5 methods, you have 5 objects in your class. All the 5 are applicable to call this event handler method, well and good. Or if you feel out of 5 only 2 needs to be added and 2 needs to be applicable to call this particular event handler method, then you have to mention in the registration place, you have to say only these 2 objects are applicable for my event handler method. Okay, so this is about the registration, register your event handler method. So these 3 steps are mandatory for every event in object oriented ABAP, that is extends to object oriented ALV as well. Okay, what next? So sample events which we are going to see today's session is double click, toolbar. So toolbar is nothing but I want to add a custom button in the object oriented ALV toolbar. That is also to be done in events. User command on F4. Okay. So here if you see double click user command on F4, just for a reference. Okay. These three events are going to be happening after event happens. I can say PAI. If anything happens, these events are going to be triggered. But toolbar is not depends on the event, because before the event, before the screen pop-ups, this event to be triggered. So even can be a PAI or PBO. PI, PAO it's saying is just for your reference. Okay. So before screen pop-ups also some events are getting triggered. It's not every events are getting triggered, only double click, anything happens in the screen. No, before screen pop-up also there are some events can be triggered before that also. Okay. So these are the four events which you're going to see in today's session. Okay. Nope. Okay, that's it. Let's get into the system. This is my entire system, and I have already coded the base object-oriented ALV, which I explained the last video. I have a screen and I have a screen menu, so it's in the toolbar, and then few field catalog I have filled for material information, and then I have a container, and then another object reference based on the above object one object container reference, and then I have a set table for first display, and I have added whatever I need, and this is a custom design of my ALV. And for that menu I have one button called exit in that application toolbar. If I press that button, it needs to be come out of the program. So just execute. It's a very basic object-oriented ALV, and this application toolbar is mine, and click exit, just come out of it. Okay. And yeah, I want to show something because I got one more query about this application toolbar button. It's saying the person is able to get all the application toolbar buttons in the output screen. I didn't get it, but if I tried with a menu which doesn't exist for my program, menu 1 2 3 doesn't exist for this program, and executed it, now yes, I'm getting all the default application toolbar buttons. I'm not sure because of this is coming. It shows status menu 1 2 3 interface is missing, but still it shows the menu. I don't know whether the same way it's getting for you. I'm not sure. So this I want to convey this. Probably if you encounter same issue, please let me know. So he's not giving any menu, but he by default will get all the menu buttons, especially the standard toolbar buttons, back, exit, cancel, and everything. So that's what his query is. Okay, let's act about it and execute it, and we are able to see the ALV options. So here I'm going to introduce events one by one, so that is easy to understand. So the first event I'm going to use is double click. If I double click, I'm expecting something to be happened, so I'm going to introduce a double click event. So for that, 3 steps to be mandatory: define your event handler method, implement your event handler method, register your event handler method. Okay, so we'll do one by one. And as I mentioned, you are able to see everything in this class, and go to events. So these are the events which you have. Okay, on F4 over here you have, on F1 you have data changed, you have, so a lot of events available. And now I'm going to use double click event, and I'm going to see the parameter of the double click event. Just click the parameters. Yes, I have E row, E column, ES row number. Okay, so these are the parameters. It's required and it's optional, so it's not mandatory. You have to define it. If you want to handle, if you double click, I want to know what is the row they double clicked, what is the column exactly they double clicked, then you need these two. Okay, import and export, otherwise it's not required. And then you can able to see what is the associated type also. Let's do one by one. So I'm going to take this e row and e column. Probably e row is enough. So double click is the event. Okay, so step one, as I mentioned, let's start working with local class for object oriented to avoid writing code in the PI module. So class, I'm going to say local class ALV definition methods, sorry, public section methods. So the first method, event handler method, is double click. You can say event handler, EVT, event handler method. This is for double click, double click. Okay, any name you can give. And for event, okay, I think I didn't copy the event name. So event name is double clicked. So if you want, you can copy paste it from the class. And this event belongs to which class? CLGUI grid. Okay, and the parameters. So importing, I'm going to use whatever the name, exact name we have. So E, you can see over here, like, oh, not required, it's not coming. E row and E column. Okay, no separators. So I have done with the definition of my event handler method. Now the second step, I need to implement it. So ALV implementation in class method name is events double click in method. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to write any functionality over here. So it's very simple, depends on your need, you can write whatever you want. Okay, so two steps are done. Step number 3 is register. Exactly where it needs to be registered, that is also plays a role, exactly where you have to register it. For example, my ALV is displaying in this line. Okay, maybe 107 is displaying here. If I register my event after the ALV is displayed, it doesn't work. Okay, so you have to register before the event happens, or at least before the display happens of your ALV. So most closely before display your ALV, like before set table for first display method, please register your events. Okay, so here I'm going to register it, set handler, and the okay, so basic step is my event handler is available in a class called LCALV, and I want to call this method as a registration process. So what I have to do is I need an object for this class, then I'm able to call this method. So create an object for this local class first. Where it is? Okay, so data object, okay, I'll go with the object ALV equal to, so new LCALV. Okay, now use that object, call the method. So what is the method? We have only one, event double click. Okay, and then I have to use set handler click for which object? Okay, one second, because this object is already declared, I believe. Yes, so I'm not able to use that one. So this is for object oriented ALV local class. Okay, so now it should come. Object ALV LOC CLES. Okay, set handler for which object? So I'm going to say only this object. Suppose some other object is going to display the object oriented ALV, like OO ALV, and if you double click, if you do a double click, it won't recognize this because I have a restriction over here. Only object ALV object triggers the event, then this particular event handler method to be triggered, otherwise it won't. So that is the reason you have a restrictions over here. Okay, registration done. Let me Back toward it. Very good. What is the error? Sorry, over here. Double click. It does not have a even double click. Okay, spelling mistake. Yep, done. Execute. So double click is going to stop in the event handler method implementation. So it needs some time. So here it stopped inside my event handler method for double click. So I can say E underscore row and E underscore COLUMN column. Okay, so double click happened in the column METNR, and E row is nothing but fifth line, fifth row. It's going to happen. So then it's very comfortable for you. You can read it based on the index, get the value for the particular record, and just go forward. It depends on your business need. Okay, this is for double click. Let's do this for F4. Okay, because next I need to add this one, and then I will go to the user command event. So I'm going to make F4 event for this material type. So for that I need to enable this column along with F4 help also to be enabled. So just go to the field catalog for METNR. I can say here I need to edit this first. So edit, yes, edit, and then I'm saying it needs F4 help available. So F4 available, yes. Okay, so let's see how it behaves in the screen level. Then we can write a event for this. Execute. So editable, and I have F4. So it's nothing is coming. I'm going to write an event for this. So what are the 3 steps to be added? Definition first. You can use the same methods by separate by comma, but I prefer to go with a different method keyword for every event over here. On F4 help for event on F4. Probably you might aware where it gone. Name of the event need to be identified as it's on F4. Okay, so on F4 of CLGUALV grid, and let me figure out anything to be mandatory here. On F4 parameters all optional. Okay, because I'm not going to write any functionality here. Maybe if you require, maybe I can add it, have a different video on this on F4. Okay, so no importing parameter. So this is definition 1 is done, and then this event handler method to be implemented on F4 help breakpoint in method. Back toward it. I'm sorry, registration register is missing. I need to register this event. So go here. Obviously that is also better before display your ALV. So it needs to be called with the method local class with the object local class, and then events on F4 help for the object ALV. So one additional step required for F4 help, so that needs to be added in one internal table, and we have to register the field names for F4 help, which field actually required the F4 help. So I will explain this maybe in detail whenever we have a different video for F4 help. So here this is a table type, so I just go with line of, yes. Okay, so if you double click this table type, you're able to see what is the need of this. So this is for table of fields registered for F4 handling. Okay, So let me add the field which requires F4 help. So field name is empty.art, and then one more parameter called register, excuse me, equal to x. So almost done. One small method is required to register this particular part. So let me append this, append, because the method parameter is table type. Okay, that's it. Clear WA4 fields. Now go to pattern, Control F6. Objects is going to be PGALV and CLGUI grid, and the method is register F4 for fields. It has lot. Register, here it is, F4 for fields, and pass the internal table over here. It's ITF4 fields. That's it. So this is required, otherwise the breakpoint its own work. Okay, this step is required only for F4. It's not for user command, it's not for double click, it's not for especially toolbars and everything. Okay, that's it, and execute it. If I press F4, then it needs to be stopped in the debugger of F4 even handler method. It takes some time. So here it's stopped on even handler F4 help. Okay. So two more events, one is for toolbar and one is for user command. Okay, let's see one by one. So for a toolbar, let's get into the event first for better understanding. And this is events. I want toolbar. Okay, it's in a parameter. Just go out. And where is the toolbar? You can find, okay, I got it. Toolbar, go to the parameters, because toolbar is going to be executed before the pop-ups, the screen pop-ups, right? The event to be triggered before the screen pop-ups. And here this is. So E objects and associated type is toolbar set, get into that. And here, this is another class actually. This is not a structure, this is a class. So go to the attributes of the class, and this is a toolbar we required, and this is going to be a reference of a table type, and this toolbar buttons, right, standard toolbar buttons. I'm going to add my own custom as well, so it's coming under function. Probably you might aware, last video I have explained about the function code, so I'm going to add few things about the button for my own button. What is a function code? If you want an icon, what is an icon, quick info, and button type, and disable text and everything. I'm going to use very few. I'm going to use button type and the text on top of my button, and what is the function code, only these three. And button type, there are some categories on the button type. Go to the button type, go to the value range. So 0 is button, 1 is menu and default button, checkbox, menus, option buttons, separator is nothing but the line between the buttons, and then radio button, checkbox. Different types of buttons are available. Whichever is required for your business need, you can make use of it. Okay, so the reference is the table type is required for me, probably either table type or a structure, whatever you want you can make it. Let's go with the structure, and once I add it, that needs to be added in this particular attribute of the class. Okay, so go little back, and that is, this is the object for it. It's a type ref, right? It's a type ref to this class. So with the help of using this object, I'm going to add the content to this attribute. So this is a internal table, it's a table type. So go back. So E object is required for me. So now what I'm going to do is, oh sorry, it's not this window, here. Let me define the events first. Methods, even for custom toolbar. Okay, toolbar or toolbar buttons, whatever it is, and event is toolbar of class this one, and importing I want that object, so e object. Okay, so importing a object is done. Then go to implementation, so method even for custom toolbar in method. So here I'm going to write the code. Okay, so it's going to be execute before I can say PBO, kind of before my screen pop-ups is going, this event is going to trigger. So let me have a breakpoint here. Okay, so data, I need a work area for custom buttons type, I think so, 1 second, stb, 1 minute, display events toolbar, find next, find next. Okay, here it is. Go to parameters. Yes, go get into that particular class. Attributes, I want this one. Okay, stb underscore button. So type stb underscore button. Okay, and then I'm going to write custom button type is equal to 0 because I want a normal button, and button function code is required. Function is exit. I'm going to give the same function code, so it's easy for me to write the code. So exit, or just give whatever you want, it's fine. Custom button, and then text I want, I can say close. That's it. And it needs to be append to the internal table which is inside the class, right? So through reference only, the object reference only, I can do that. So what is the object reference? E underscore object. So e underscore object, and this one empty toolbar, right? 1 minute, go back. What is the name? Yes, empty toolbar. So this internal table to be filled, then the custom buttons will trigger. Okay, append this one. That's it. Okay, last one more time, one more thing has to be register set handler objects ALV local class, and then even name custom toolbar for object ALV. That's it. Act toward it. Expectation is if I press F8, it needs to be stopped in the particular event handler method. F8, yes, it's getting stopped. Let's confirm whether it's going to stop in the custom toolbar button only, event handler method only. So yes, it stopped in the event handler method. Breakpoint is need to be added, whatever functions you want. It's fine. It's very simple code for you. And then finally it's going to be added one extra button in the standard object oriented ALV menus or whatever it is, application toolbar buttons. Okay, so if I click close, select close, so I need one more event to be triggered because this is not going to happen in PAI because this is not in your model pool control. This is especially in the object oriented ALV concept. So this is not going to be hit your PAI function module, sorry, module actually. So screen module. So for that I need one more event, that is the last event for this session, that is nothing but user command. Methods event UCOMMAND for event So go back, I'm inside that particular class. Okay, events, I want user command. Here it is, user command, and what is the parameter? Parameter is EUCOM. So user command of CLGI importing. So EUCOM is going to be receive the function code of your menu buttons. Okay, just a user command. Okay, final one. Then I need to do an implementation method, event user command. I'm not sure you have noticed from the last video. Last video is OData related. So the last video I have added my code in the description box, in the video description box. So if you really want, just make a note of it. This is also requested by one of the subscriber to the channel. They want some code for their reference, so I added it. But one restriction is I'm not able to have this tag inside the description. That is a restriction from the YouTube. So instead of that, I removed and I added it. So once you copy and paste the code, make sure you have added the tag wherever it's required. Okay, so only that part you have to make sure it's working fine for you after you added it. Activate it. Okay, the last one is register. Register your event. So here, set handler object ALV, call your event handler method for the applicable object name or object reference. Activate it. So if the user click the close button, then the debug should trigger. Okay, now it's triggering because of the toolbar. So it's a toolbar, full execution. So if I click close, it should trigger the user command event handler method. Yes, event handler EUCOM. Just write whatever you want inside this user command event handler. Okay, so hope you might have an idea about what are the events or whatever events. No, I'm saying what are the events, whatever events related with object oriented ALV. So these three steps to be done, and once that you done, you have a place to write a code based on the event, based on your requirement. Define the event, implement, okay, define the event handler method, implement the event handler method, and register your event handler method based on the applicable objects. Okay, that's it. Play around this. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next video. Bye.